Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about the deep cervical fascia or the deep fascia of the neck or the fascia colli of the neck. In this video particularly we talk about the investing layer of the fascia colli. Now the layers of the deep cervical fascia first of all. First of all I will discuss about the cross section or the transverse section of the neck at the level of the 7 cervical vertebra. First of all, as you can see, let's start with this. This is the thyroid gland over here. This is the trachea, this is the esophagus, and these all things are covered by one particular fascia known as the pretracheal fascia. Okay, now as you can see over here, this is the outer green layer, is the this one is the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. Okay, this is the sternocleidomastoid muscle, this one, and this is the platysma, this over here, the outermost one. The platysma is a muscle of the neck, and this is the trapezius muscle. Okay, now over here as you can see there are internal jugular vein, common carotid artery and the vagus nerve, which are actually enclosed by one sheet known as the carotid sheath, also a layer of the deep cervical fascia. Now this is the retropharyngeal space which has its particular nodes, and behind this space we are having buccopharyngeal fascia, okay, which is actually fused with the prevertebral fascia. Prevertebral fascia actually is this one, this is the prevertebral fascia. This is the 7 cervical vertebra. Over here we are having longus colli muscle. This is scalenus anterior, scalenus medius, and between the scalenus anterior and the scalenus medius we have trunk of brachial plexus. Okay, over here. These all muscles are the muscles of the back. These all muscles. Okay. Now these all in front of the thyroid gland is the all the infrahyoid muscle. Okay. As you can see, this is the sternohyoid, sternothyroid, omohyoid, the infrahyoid muscles. So in short, this is the investing layer covering all this whole part. This one, this. Okay. This is the pretracheal fascia, mainly covering the thyroid gland. This is the pretracheal fascia. Behind the retropharyngeal space we are having the buccopharyngeal fascia. Okay, this is the carotid sheath, and the pharyngobasilar fascia is actually present deep to the pharynx, so it's not visible over here. So this was the overall view of the cross section of the neck. Okay, now first of all the investing layer. This is the investing layer I told you before. Investing layer lies mainly deep to the platysma. This is a platysma, so deep to it, and surrounds the neck like a collar. Okay, and it also forms the roof of the posterior triangle of neck. In the neck we have mainly two triangles, anterior and the posterior. We'll talk about this in another video. So it mainly forms the roof of the posterior triangle. Remember this, the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia forms the roof of the posterior triangle of the neck, while the prevertebral fascia, we'll study later, will actually forms the floor of the posterior triangle of the neck. Now the attachments of the investing layer are first of all superiorly. As you can see, it will clear from the diagram that it mainly attaches to the external occipital protuberance, then the superior knuckle line, then the mastoid process and the styloid process of the temporal bone. Okay, then it will go ahead and it will attach to the external acoustic meatus and the tympanic plate, and then will attach to the base of the mandible. So external occipital protuberance, superior knuckle line, then the mastoid process, styloid process of temporal bone, then external acoustic meatus and the tympanic plate, and then finally to the mandible, base of the mandible. Now between the angle of the mandible, this, and between the mastoid process, means around this, the fascia actually splits to enclose the parotid gland. Okay, we'll talk about this later in this video about the structure actually which are enclosed by this fascia, the investing layer. Right now I'll talk about the attachments only. Now the inferior attachments. Inferiorly it actually attaches to the spine of the scapula and the acromion process of the scapula. Okay, in the posterior part, in the back side. Okay, then the clavicle, and then to the manubrium of the sternum. Now over here the fascia also splits to enclose two main spaces, that is suprasternal space, this suprasternal space, this one, above the sternum, and above the clavicle we are having supraclavicular space. Okay, so it includes these two. We'll talk about this in detail later. And posteriorly mainly it includes two main things. Posteriorly, two main things: ligamentum nuke and the spine of the 7th cervical vertebra. Okay, and anteriorly also two things: symphysis menti and the hyoid bone. Okay, now the structures which are actually covered or enclosed by the investing layer of the fascia coli. Now it mainly encloses three main structures, that is the muscles, salivary glands and the spaces. Now first of all, which muscles? That is two muscles, that is the sternocleidomastoid or the muscle of the neck, and the trapezius muscle, that is the muscle of the back of the neck and the back. Okay, so these are the two muscles, sternocleidomastoid muscle and the trapezius muscle on the both side, and this SCM on both sides are actually enclosed by the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. Now salivary glands, also two salivary glands, that is a parotid gland and the submandibular gland. Now over here, as you can see in the parotid gland, the investing layer actually splits into two fascias or two layers, that is the superficial fascia and the deep layer or the deep fascia. Now this layer is also known as the parotidomesenteric fascia. Okay, and this is attached to the zygomatic arch. Okay, now this deep layer is comparatively thin as compared to the superficial layer and is attached to three main structures, that is the styloid process, the tympanic plate and the mandible. Now this deep layer of this investing layer is actually thickened between the styloid process and the base of the angle of the mandible, and actually separates these two glands from each other. Means the deep layer actually gets thickened between the styloid process and the base of the mandible, and at that area it is known as the stylomandibular ligament, and that ligament actually separates these two glands from each other. And this stylomandibular ligament is actually pierced by the external carotid artery. This line is very important. Now at the base of the mandible, now let's come to this submandibular. Now this is the investing layer. Also over here it splits into two, superficial layer and the deep layer. The superficial layer is actually connected to the base of the mandible, as you can see, or we can see the lower border of the body of the mandible. Okay, not specifically base, but the lower body of the body of the mandible, lower border, and the deep layer to the mylohyoid line. The mylohyoid line is actually that line over which the mylohyoid muscles are attached. Okay, so attached to the mylohyoid line. So at the base of the mandible, it encloses this muscle. Okay, so two salivary glands, parotid gland and the submandibular gland, and over here the deep layer of the investing layer actually thickens between the styloid process and the angle of the mandible, and it actually forms a thickened layer which actually separates these two glands from each other, and it is pierced by external carotid artery. Now third and the last is the spaces. Now it encloses mainly two spaces, that is the suprasternal space and the supraclavicular space. Now first of all, let's talk about the suprasternal space. Now the suprasternal space or the space of the burns. Remember, the suprasternal space is also known as the space of the burns. Okay, and the contents of it over here are the sternal head of the right and left sternocleidomastoid muscle, as you can see over here. The contents of suprasternal space, sternal head of SCM, then the jugular venous arch, the lymph node, and the interclavicular ligament. So just remember this diagram, you will remember all the contents of the suprasternal space. And next in the supraclavicular space means this is the clavicle. So above this there will be supraclavicular space, and it has mainly three things: external jugular vein, supraclavicular nerves, and the cutaneous vessel including the lymphatics. So one vein, external jugular vein, one nerve, that is a supraclavicular nerve, and cutaneous vessels. Now the investing layer mainly forms three things, that is the pullae to bind the omohyoid and the digastric tendon, roof of the anterior and posterior triangles, and the stylomandibular ligament, and also the parotidomesenteric fascia. I discussed about this ligament earlier. That means it is actually a thickened portion, the deep layer of the investing layer, and it mainly separates both the salivary gland, that is the parotid gland and the submandibular gland, from each other, and they are present in between two main things, that is the styloid process and the angle of the mandible. Okay, so it forms mainly three things: pullae, roof, and the stylomandibular ligament and the parietomesenteric fascia. Also, just remember that it encloses three main things, that is the muscles, salivary gland, and the spaces, and it forms these three main things. Okay. Now last is the clinical aspects of the investing layer. Now the parotid swelling, as you can see in this diagram, are very painful due to the unyielding nature of the parotid fascia. What is parotid fascia? It was the parietomesenteric fascia, which was a superior layer or superficial layer of the investing layer. If you remember, the investing layer actually encloses in two parts, superficial and the deep, which actually encloses the parotid gland. Okay, so if there will be unyielding nature of the parotid fascia, it will cause parotid swelling. Now, while excising the submandibular salivary gland, the external carotid artery should be secured before dividing it, because I told you before that the stylomandibular ligament actually pierced by the external carotid artery. So when the surgeons are excising the submandibular salivary gland, so they have to take care of this artery, otherwise it will retract in the stylomandibular ligament and will cause serious bleeding, because this artery actually pierces the stylomandibular ligament. Okay, so it may cause retraction over here while excising the submandibular salivary gland and may cause serious bleeding. Now last is the division of the external jugular vein. What is this? This is the content of the supraclavicular space. Now division of external jugular vein in the supraclavicular space may actually cause air embolism and consequent death. Why? Because the cut ends of the vein are prevented from retraction and closure by the fascia attached firmly to the vein, because the ends are actually attached firmly. So it may cause, if I am dividing this external jugular vein in the supraclavicular space, it can cause air embolism. So this was all about the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. We'll talk about other layers of the deep cervical fascia in my next videos. Hope you understood well. Thank you so much.